believe myself that I'm doing this. I just came to this library and it was kind of deserted, like kind of empty. So I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to film a video. And then I just took out a piece of paper, I have a pencil in my hand, and I just wrote all the recommendations that I'm going to talk to you about. This is a very specific book recommendations video, by the way. I am going to recommend you all the books with marriage of convenience trope. We love it. Like when the main character, when the male main character goes and says, "My wife," like this is my favorite trope ever. Like if you say that this book has marriage of convenience, I'm going to pick it up. Like I'm going to abandon my current read and I'm going to pick this book up. Like seriously, I'm not even kidding. Let me get some comfortable. If you're new here, I am Nehal and I love books. I love reading books. I love talking about books. And most of all, I love recommending books. And so that's what this channel is all about. So if you love books, then please subscribe to me. Okay, now let's just get into this video. Am I going to hold this pencil the whole time? I don't know. First book I'm going to recommend is my favorite book ever. I recommend this to every single person that loves books, called The Favor by Suzanne Wright. This book is so underrated. It makes me mad. Like, this is so perfect. Like, everything. The main characters are perfect. Their chemistry, the slow burn, their banter, how this whole story develops, like, their backstories, every single thing. And obviously, it has spice, by the way, because I'm talking about it. So, yeah, it's 18 plus. So the story starts with they both are working in the same office for 3 years. She has been his secretary. He's the CEO, by the way, and he's also a billionaire. So she has been his secretary for 3 years. Like she knows him. Everyone is scared of him, but she's the only one who can like go into his office and demand things. So so yeah, suddenly after 3 years what happens is he goes to her and says that marry me because I need to get married for convenience to get his inheritance basically. Now there is a lot of jealousy factor, like he is very possessive because her ex comes into the picture. So if you're into that, I'm into that, everyone is into that. Okay, so he's very jealous, possessive and all of that. He's also a billionaire, so there's that. And she is very mature, by the way, and there is literally zero miscommunication in this entire book. Like the communication is so healthy and wholesome. Like every line I was reading and every conversation that was between them, I was like, oh my god, I need to take notes. Like I need to be like her. Like I need to be like them. Like whatever problem is there, they just completely address it. Which was like so healthy and wholesome, and it's also very spicy. By the way, I already said that, right? So yeah, that's so they start living together. Obviously, they get married, and then they start developing feelings for each other. But like he doesn't. He has this very dark past. He basically has antisocial personality disorder, so he cannot feel emotions normally. So that happens, but they open up and they finally develop feelings for each other and like have their happily ever after. That's the book. Okay, so the next book I'm going to recommend is In a Jam by Kate Canterbury. This book is also highly underrated, and I'm so pissed off. I'm so pissed off that this book is not viral on Booktok. It has to be, okay? This is like a small town romance. He has always been in love with her, like since high school, but he was really shy and introverted, so he never really, confronted her about it. But years later, I think 10 or 15 years later, she is back into his town, and there's also a single dad trope in here. He's actually an uncle, but still, that vibe. So they have to get married for convenience to get her land, basically her farm. So they get married, and he has always been in love with her. So there's that factor, and they are kind of like fake married in front of the whole town. So there's that fake dating trope, like, oh, we are just pretending, it's not real, but it is actually real, and all of that. And also she's plus size, so there's that too. And it is very, 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 very spicy also. And he's very shy and introverted, so there's that too. Okay, so the next, both of these books were like 5 stars for me. Okay, just putting that out there. The next book I'm going to recommend is, this was also a 5 star for me, but it's like more Okay, I'll just say the name. It's called The Sweet Temptation by Cora Riley. And this book, I did not I did not expect it to be this perfect, because obviously there's single dad trope. He has two kids, and there is a lot of age gap. Like he's 32, 33 something years, and he is 18. Sorry, she is 18 years old. I know, but it's dark mafia romance, so it's okay. Like when you start reading the book, everything would make sense. Like it's not creepy at all. She's 18 and he's 32, 33, and a father of two kids, and also involved in the mafia. Like, you know, they're both from the mafia families, so there's that trope. But also one is like he is so traumatized, and like, and he's like so cut off from the world after what happened with her wife, like her ex-wife. It's so dark, it is so dark, but the way he opened up in front of her, the way his kids opened up in front of her, like there's also one child of him who just did not used to speak to anyone after things happened with his mother, but then he starts opening up to this, like his new wife. So there's that too, like, you know, he this girl, this 18-year-old girl basically healed the entire family. And also it's very spicy, so there's that. This book is so wholesome, like, oh my god, if this book was right in front of me, I would hug it. Like seriously, it's so good. Like there's so much goodness. Like obviously there's some darkness and trauma in there, but like it's so wholesome and so good. Like, oh my god, I feel like I should reread it right now. Like I should reread it. Wow, I've lost my ability to speak. Now, another 5 stars. It's called Bride by Ali Hazelwood. You know what? I think if you're on Bookstagram or Booktok at all, you must have heard about this book, or this author at least. It is. This book was, again, it was perfection. I gave it like 5 stars. Honestly, if I could give it more, I would. Like seriously, this book was so perfect. It's kind of supernatural because she is a vampire and he is a werewolf, but he is the werewolf alpha, like werewolf leader. So they had to get married to form an alliance, you know. So they had to get married like that. But there's a secret trope I'm not going to tell you, because then I would spoil the entire book. So I would keep my mouth shut, anyways. But what I can tell you, that is, there is such a delicious slow burn. Like they have to move in together. Like, okay, she has to live into his territory, and because they're husband and wife, there are a lot of like jealousy, and she is my wife, like don't talk to my wife like that, like how dare you touch my wife, you know, all of those scenes, like amazing. And also he is so obsessed with her, like from the moment they met, he is so obsessed with her, so protective of her. There is such a delicious slow burn. Also, there is spice, like supernatural spice. I'm not going to go deep into it because I don't want to spoil. Okay, I don't want to spoil, but it is so worth it. So worth it. I loved every single dialogue, every single quote, every single, you know, stolen glance, and every single, like, you know, brushed hands. I loved it. Read it, okay? I cannot speak anymore to convince you. um Now the next book, again, this was also like a 5 star for me. Like I think about this book and these people, like these characters, on a daily basis. It's called The Wrath and the Dawn. I recently convinced like one one two two of my friends to read this book, and they were like, oh my god, how dare we haven't read this book like before. Like this book was so amazing. This book was like, the writing is so beautiful. Obviously there is marriage of convenience, but it's kind of dark because the story is of this king who kills all of his brides. Like, why did I smile at that? Okay, so the story is about a king who kills all his brides the day after they get married. Now, why he does that, that's the whole story. And you have to read the book for that. So now she marries him because he was the one who killed her best friend. Like, her best friend was one of the wives that he killed. So she is marrying him for revenge. So there's that. The writing is so beautiful. It is completely young adult. So if you're not 18 years old, if you're younger than that, you can still read it. Read it. The writing is very beautiful. The way everything is described, like the characters and the scenery and the food, the dialogues, the emotions, it's so poetic, lyrical, and it's so beautiful. Like, I don't have any other adjectives, but the writing is amazing, amazing, I'm telling you. So, this is the whole story. It is a duet actually, but I think the first book is better than the second one, but you should read both of them. Again, this is like very, has a lot of action factors, kind of fantasy, but like not very high fantasy. There's not much world building. It's like, it's not very overwhelming, like it's easy to read. So yeah, that's that. And the next book I want to recommend, if you want to read something, like you want to read Marriage of Convenience, but like something really spicy, and you know, like enemies, enemies, like they want to kill each other type of, then you should read The Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark. It is very like straight up enemies to lovers. They have to get married, they belong to rival enemies, there's a lot of spies, they hate each other. They, and also there are like touch her and you die, like you touch my wife, now you're going to die, those type of scenes. If you want that type of a story, then you should go for Brutal Prince. It's like not very long, it's very straight to the point and very, very entertaining, you know. And then if you want now another book, Marriage for One by Ella Mays. If you want a Marriage of Convenience, which is like very wholesome, where he's so obsessed with her and it's so sweet, he's always like my wife and all of that, then you should read this one. Like, this was a very, I wouldn't say that it was a soft romance, but it was very wholesome. Like, obviously there is one thing that happened in this book which was very dark, but the way he takes care of her, like it's very like, there's one point in the book where she falls sick and she has to go through a surgery, and the whole time he was so protective of her and he took care of her. Like, he was so protective of her and he takes care of her like for a long time. Like, there are chapters where it is, you know, described. So if you're into that, then yeah, this one. But this is like very sweet and wholesome. So you know, if you're not into sweet and wholesome, then probably don't read this book. Read the other ones that I'm going to recommend. Okay, so if you're looking for a historical romance, if you want something which is set in the old Victorian era but Marriage of Convenience, then read The Duchess Deal by Tessa Dare. In my opinion, this is like the best historical romance book I have ever read in my life, which is saying something because I have read quite a bit. Like, I've read a lot of historical romance, and this story basically is like, he is a scarred man because he has been into military. So there was an accident there. Some bomb went off or something, and her body, half of his body, sorry, half of his body is burnt and scarred and, you know, disfigured sort of. So because of that, the woman that he was going to marry like breaks up with her, what am I doing, breaks up with him. So because of that, he, like, the next day, basically the next week, he marries this handmaiden, and tick out of the blue. And because he just wants to save his reputation, like he doesn't have feelings for her or anything, so they both don't have feelings for each other, they are both marrying for their own reasons. So that's that. And also he's like very ashamed of his own body. And you know, like how they develop intimacy and how they start developing feelings for each other. He's very, very grumpy, by the way, and very closed off. He's like, no, I know you don't like me because I look like this, and you know, all of that. And there's also spice, by the way. So this book was like really good. Like, you know, scarred duke, poor handmaiden, that. I don't know what type of mood I'm in today, but like, I'm loving it. So if again, if you're looking for something young adult but Marriage of Convenience, more of the plot and less of the spice, like basically no spice but a lot of slow burn and banter and all of that, then you should read Foul Lady Fortune Duet. These are kind of long books. Like, I think both of them are like 450 pages long. So if you want more of the plot, like, you know, more of the slow burn and all of that, then you should read this one. But if you need something really toxic, Bitter Heat by Mia Knight. If read this one, if you need something toxic, like I need a Marriage of Convenience, but like really toxic, where they are both wrong for each other and they shouldn't be together, but they are still together, and it's like a lot of, like, you know, toxic. When I tell you that this man, James Roth, that's his name, he is so toxic. Like, he's not the type of villain that you're like, oh, he's a villain, like I like him. No, he's so toxic, like he's so dangerous. He shouldn't exist. This is the first fictional character that I feel like I'm so glad that he's a fictional character. I'm so glad that he doesn't exist because he's so toxic and such a bad guy. He's messed up. He's basically a sociopath, a psychopath. Yeah. So if you're into that, okay. If you need something, but if you need dark romance, Marriage of Convenience, but dark romance, and read Deception Trilogy by Rena Kent. And there's another one, Throne Duet by Rena Kent. They are both very, very dark, very much into mafia and all of that. But they are both marriage of convenience. And it's kind of like they both hate each other. They don't want to be together, but like, they have to be. So, and these books are like so fast paced. So if you're into a reading, if you're in a reading slump or something, then you should read this one. Let me just check. Okay, done. This one. Okay, so now just for honorable mentions, I'm going to mention The Villain by L.J. Shen. It's very much unrequited love. There's age gap. He's a billionaire. He's very toxic, not toxic, but he's very closed off and grumpy. And it's kind of like Grumpy Sunshine too. There is a lot of age gap, but there is unrequited love because she has always been in love with him, and all of that. So there is that, like that slow burn of unrequited love. If you want to be in pain, then please read this book. But it's one of the best books I've read when about unrequited love, I would say. Another honorable mention is The King's Bride by P.S. Scott. I think I have talked about this book so much in my previous videos that I'm not going to go too deep into this, just for the sake of the length of this video. Okay, it's already 18 minutes long. Anyways, King's Bride is kind of like Marriage of Convenience, a lot of age gap, a touch of fantasy, not too much world building, not very complex, but very interesting because a lot of like jealousy, possessive, don't touch my wife scenes, and he literally kills someone for her. Yeah, so there's that too. And they are both very powerful, and he goes to so much length, like, to protect her. So there's that. And there's spice, a lot of good banter. And another one which I recently read is Misdeeds of a Billionaire by Eva Winners. This book was kind of long, but it's not actually a marriage of convenience because there is a lot of like he was obsessed with her, but then he left the city, left the country basically, and then she comes back, and as soon as she comes back, he kind of traps her into a marriage with him. But it's not the toxic, like I know it sounds toxic, but it's kind of like very, like he's obsessed with her, and uh, kind of wholesome too, and marriage of convenience and all of that. He basically protects her, and he was so faithful to her, all of that. So yeah, that's that. I think I recommended quite a lot of books, and this is one of my favorite tropes. So I had so much fun filming this video as usual, and I know that you got some 5 or 6 good recommendations. So, but if you have new recommendations for me, like Marriage of Convenience, which you have recently read or which you know that I would love, then please comment down below because I'm always looking for new books. You know that. So yes, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. Okay, bye. I'll be back with another cool video very, very soon. Bye.